Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Invocation. Let's just go ahead and do it myself, I guess. Heavenly Father, we come to you today, and Heavenly Father, let things work out right. Heavenly Father, even for this nation, we ask you to bless us and help us through this election, because only you can. So, Heavenly Father, just we thank you for being here with this meeting and guiding us and direct us. We give you the praise in Jesus' name, amen. Let's all stand. Janet, go ahead and start off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if you would, give us a roll call.
Trustee Debbie Ann Anthony.
Here.
Trustee Charles Calhoun. Trustee Charles Calhoun. Trustee Tammy Cross.
Here.
Trustee Brandon Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Janet Reed.
Here.
Vice Chairman Danny Scher.
Here.
Chairman Jim Thorpe.
Here. Okay, so we'll go to number one. We're conferring with legal counsel Mark A. Morrison regarding the advanced lighting project for downtown Durant that was previously tabled and possibly take action thereon. So I guess Ms. Morrison will get you up here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been in the Zoom meeting all morning, so I've been Zooming all day. So hello to you all that, I don't know if you can see me, but hello to you all that are Zooming. I know most of you, but my name is Mark Morrison. I'm a local practitioner for those of you that haven't had any contact with me before. You voted at an earlier time to employ me to give you some advice on some any matters that might come up, and the specific matter that I was asked to look into for the purposes of this meeting. And as you know, we're only allowed to discuss and deal with matters that the public has properly been put on notice about. So if there are other specific issues other than what's on the table or before you, we could obviously take that up at a later time. But since I've never met with you before, I don't want to take up any more time than would be necessary. But I approach this project or this issue just like I do any issue with a client. I'll have people that come in to see me. They've had a lawyer represent them before on the matter, 2 or 3 lawyers. I don't know sometimes. Sometimes I know they've had legal counsel. But I always approach things like I've never seen the client before. I start off from the ground, and I don't want to get off into the weeds too much, but I think it's important that you and I are on the same page if I'm going to be your counsel as to what you can do and can't do generally as a public body and how the procedure works. So, and I have legal citations for all the research. I won't go into all that because that's something, if somebody wants that, I can give it to you. But you kind of start off with the premise. By the way, I did look at your the ordinance of the city that was enacted by the city council several years ago that set up this public body I also looked at the actual initiative that was voted on that enacted the ordinance, as well as the official report from the election board that certified the election. So I looked at all of that. I also looked at the actual public trust indenture that was enacted by the city, through the city council, and the approval of the mayor at that time that set up this body. And I've also looked at your bylaws. I think I've looked at everything that exists out there. And again, without getting off in the weeds too much, public trusts, they get their genesis and some of their enabling powers through what we call Title 60 of the Oklahoma statutes. It's generally a title devoted to property issues, but it has a specific set of sections that deal with trusts and public trusts. And without reading that body of law to you, it's real clear that a public trust is not permitted to engage in any activities or transactions that are not expressly authorized in the instruments or articles that prescribe its creation, except by the express consent of the body that created you, which would be the city council. So the second, I think, important premise to know is that Article 10, Section 19 of the Oklahoma Constitution talks about revenue or taxation matters. And this is a hard and fast rule that cuts across all tax initiatives, be it local, state, county, or otherwise. And basically it provides that the tax or the enabling article, ordinance, whatever it might be that establishes the tax has to specifically and distinctly describe the purpose for which the tax is going to be levied, and no tax levied or collected for one purpose shall ever be devoted to another purpose. If you look at case law and things that construe that, it goes ahead and talks about how those expenditures are just void as a matter of law, and then there's some other things that go along with that. And then when you look at the specific provisions of the ordinance that was enacted by the taxpayers of the city of Durant back, I believe it was April 4th, 2017, it was captioned as an excise tax of 5% in addition to all other taxes. And it's sometimes referred to as the hotel motel tax. And it has specific purposes set in it. And what I found interesting about it, getting a little bit ahead of the game, the actual purpose of the funds, it goes through a lot of gyrations and things, but under Section 7, it says taxes shall, that's mandatory language, be used for the purpose of encouraging, promoting, and fostering. Then it uses the term tourism, economic development. Words mean things. It doesn't say tourism and economic development. It says tourism, economic development. Now, I don't know if that was a grammatical error, typo, but that's exactly what the ordinance said. That's exactly what the initiative the taxpayers voted on, had the same language. When you look at the specific definitions, economic development is defined as an effort that seeks to improve economic well-being and quality of life for a community by creating and or retaining jobs and supporting or growing incomes and the tax base. And then the term tourism is defined later on over there, and that, by the way, comes out of section 2 of the ordinance. Tourism is defined as tourism shall mean the business of providing information, accommodations, transportation, and other services to tourists. And then it goes on further and defines what a tourist is. And it says a tourist shall mean a person who travels for pleasure, usually for sightseeing and or business, and staying in hotels. Interesting definition, but that's exactly what it says. The term tourism economic development is not defined. Those individual words in that specific term, that particular term, are. So even though we're here to talk about only one issue today, one specific issue, that I give those to you just because I've never had a discussion with you. So you can use, those are the guide stones, as I see, that you ought to be considering for anything that you might consider doing or not doing. Now, to the specific issue at hand, I was asked to review the materials that this board looked at an earlier time on a street lighting project, I think, who was presented by Mr. Armour, who may be here today. I think he's here today. Quite an impressive project. Looks like it would, be an eye-catching type project. It's kind of my first thought of it. When I looked at it, I thought, man, this would be an eye-catching project. The other thing you have to remember, though, is that I didn't read it specifically, but in those same articles and the directives that you have, the one thing that is clearly pointed out is that you can't use your funds for, quote, capital improvements. That's the deciding factor in this case. And I came to the conclusion, or it's my legal opinion, that this lighting project is a capital improvement, and it would not be lawful for you to use funds for that. And where I came from that, there's some case law that talks about the definition of capital improvements in various circumstances. And while I did not find a statute or a case that's directly on point in the state of Oklahoma, and I also looked at Attorney General's opinions, which they don't have the force of like case law or statutes, but can be influential and things. I also looked at AG opinions. There's not a legal or a case or a statute or a rule that I saw that specifically defined a capital improvement in terms of a public trust setting. However, there's a specific statutory definition for a capital improvement in the Oklahoma Municipal Code, which under the specific article, Roman numeral 17 of Title 11, you all may know, if you've been on public bodies before, especially to the city, municipalities are specifically governed by all matters under Title 11 of the Oklahoma statutes. Of course, you have a lot of Sydney ordinances that sometimes mirror those, but under the article designated as Roman numeral 17, it's captioned municipal finances. It talks about the term, the definition of capital improvements, and it's actually in the context of a capital improvement fund that a municipality might maintain. And it specifically says that capital improvement means, and I'm quoting from the statute, all items and articles, either new or replacements, not consumed with use, but only diminished in value with prolonged use. That's the key words to me. And then it has a whole laundry list of things that say including but not limited to roads, streets, drainage improvements, water, sewerage, machinery, equipment, furniture, fixtures. It goes on and on. There's even case law under that found that even things like fire trucks and police cars are capital improvements. So the bottom line is, because this project, my first impression when I was first given this task was to think about this is the deciding factor about whether or not this is a capital improvement, which would be prohibited for you to authorize funds for. The logical thing came to my mind. It would have to be something maybe real permanent that was fixed to the ground. Like I thought of a building or something of that nature, maybe a post that's stuck down the concrete in the ground. But this statute is very specific, and its emphasis is really not on does it move around or is it fixed? Its definition, it gets its basis or foundation in the analysis of, is this going to be an item that would be consumed with use, or is it going to diminish because of just wear and tear over time? And I think this clearly falls into that category. And so the long and short of it is, it's my legal opinion that this proposal, while I think it's a very good proposal, it would probably be beneficial to the city and the right circumstances. I don't think by the law and the statutes and all the other matters that were enacted that gives you the authority act that this board can expend funds to do that. And so if anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer them.
I think you went in deep with this, and you checked every item and every place, and I appreciate, all of your research on this.
And I will say this just maybe for future benefit. And again, I'm not talking about a specific issue because we're not entitled to go into any specific issue, but by our agenda posting and notices other than this. There are sometimes, and I say this advisedly because filing lawsuits and litigation can be expensive. And with the COVID crisis we're in now and the way it's affected our courthouse being open and the operation of our courts, it can make a slow system, sometimes even slower. But the real process for there may be situations come up where to me, this is not even a close call, by the way the statutes read in the law, but there may be times where it may be a closer call. It's a matter of interpretation or it's a matter of choice or whatever. There's actually a procedure where the board or even a taxpayer could file something called a declaratory judgment action. It's a civil action in the district court, since we're in Durant and Bryan County, and Judge Campbell or one of the other judges that he would assign there'd be notice given, interested people could speak their minds, and the court could then decide whether or not that a matter fell under a certain category or not. But anyway, that's just for information.
One more question. So, it looks like that it falls underneath the capital improvements. If we were to go about this, at this much money, whether it's a sports authority or the rodeo or whatever, if somebody else wants to go for this much and they contest it, this body right here will wind up in federal court explaining why they did that, right?
Well, I don't know that you'd wind up in federal court, but you certainly would wind up in the district court. And what you have to be is, generally speaking, what I'm always cautious about, it's hard for individual board members to be personally liable for things. That's pretty hard to do. But I'm always concerned about the public body itself. It's not always that the loser pays the winner's attorney's fees, but that can be a big deal in these cases. And I don't ever like to even get a client in that circumstance if I think I can avoid it. But the action would certainly be declared void if the court found that there was no basis for it. Now, if, for instance, let's say a citizen, someone that has a citizen of the town who has a legal interest, were to file such an action as I just remember about this very issue that we're here on today or some other issue, the board would need to authorize legal counsel, whether it was me or someone else, to respond to it. And then the court would, make a judgment about that.
Any more questions? Any more discussions? Anyone? Okay, we thank you.
All right.
Mark?
Thank you. You all.
We thank you for your advice. Anybody want to make any suggestions? On me, I'll put it this way. That's why we got legal counsel. I think going against him would put us in jeopardy. With this much, somebody else is going to ask us for the same thing. And I think we're going to court if we do that, and we're going to be challenged. And that's what I think. Anybody else have anything to say?
I'm just going to add, I don't think this has anything to do with the amount that was requested.
No,
I
it
think
doesn't.
the
It has to do
item
with capital
itself.
improvements. You're right.
No, I think it's, we all want to see it happen, but at the same time, I don't want to end up in court,
Any more? Anybody want to take action on this, and anybody want to make a motion?
I don't know that there's any motion that can be made, is it?
We're just going to let it lay and table it?
No, I thought, I wish the city manager was here. I don't think that there's an action that can be taken.
So you're just saying it's null and void then? There's no sense in going any farther?
I don't know. That's what Blake.
I think it's no action.
Okay.
But we can take a vote.
He said no action.
attorney.
No, he's not.
I would go see what y'all
Is Mark still out there? Could you get him, James, if you would?
I'm just going to voice what Tammy has already said. I think it's an excellent project. And I do think that it's definitely worth looking for funding and trying to find resources that we can put this together.
I do too. I was talking to Charles and he said that they can either, I think it needs to keep on going. I think it can be put up underneath TIF or donations too. We're talking about the action. Do we need to vote on this or just, no action at all?
I think that because it's before you and on the agenda, that the way you proceed is someone makes a motion to either take action or not to take action, and then there's a vote on it. And then that's the way the matter's dealt with. And then if there's the resolution that's made, if it dies for lack of a second, then there's just no action was taken at that point. Not voted up or down.
So action, meaning to go with it or
Yes,
non-action,
sir.
to not do it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody want to bring a motion or an action?
If I were you, Mr. Chairman, I'd just go ahead and do the motion. There's no action.
Nobody wants to make an action on this? Or no action?
Well, I'll make a motion that we, as a board, we are not going to move forward as far as the trust authority to give funds for the lighting project.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I'll make a motion because he said to vote to, I'll make a motion to take no action on this. Have a second?
I'll second it.
Debbie seconds it? Okay, could you have a roll call?
Trustee Debbie Anthony,
Yes.
trustee Charles Calhoun, he's not here. Trustee Tammy Cross,
Yes.
trustee Brandon Johnson,
Yes.
trustee Janet Reed,
Yes.
vice chairman Danny Scher,
Yes.
chairman Jim Thorpe.
Yes. Okay, we need to go to the next one, discuss and approve additional advertising on number 2. Everybody got a copy of that? Jennifer, you gonna explain this?
Hi. Yes, so in the August meeting, we voted to approve $5,000 for Discover Oklahoma. And when we contacted them, since they are having their specials going on right now with COVID for buy one, get one, they also made us an additional offer in their print advertising to be able to get in their travel guide and their outdoor guide. We can do the travel guide a half a page and the second page of the outdoor guide. For the amount that was sent out earlier today, that 4,300. We do also still fall in that BOGO special to be able to get on the Discover Oklahoma TV show, the commercials. And that was the second email that was sent out, was just more of the logistics for that TV show and their viewerships. And so if we decided that we wanted to do both, which we would request to be able to do, we would be asking for an additional $1,950 to the original 5,000
You're saying run of the book. How long does the book run
year.
and how many copies?
Their copies, they have the information on, so I apologize. I thought that was sent out.
Do they do a first edition, second edition, or just one?
They do one a year. So I mean, it's much like the Discover Durants that we see. It's their yearly, and then they break them down to different things. There's the overall travel guide, there's hunting guides, there's fishing guides. But
Anybody have any questions?
Total amount.
so the total additional amount we would be requesting is $1,950.
So that's the total amount, $1,950.
that we're requesting to be additionally added to the 5,000 that was approved earlier in August.
The 4,300?
6,950 would be the grand total overall.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any more questions? More discussion? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. We add the
I'll-
950.
Got a motion made for,
I think
Yeah.
Tammy seconded.
do what?
I think Tammy seconded.
Okay.
I did.
Yes.
Trustee Debbie Anthony. Trustee Tammy Cross.
Yes.
Trustee Brandon Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Janet Reed.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Danny Scher.
Yes.
Chairman Jim Thorpe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Really don't have anything left on this special meeting. I guess it's time for adjournment. Anybody have a motion to end this meeting?
I'll make a adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so Tammy makes a motion and Janet makes a
They claim
second to adjourn this meeting. You got a vote?
that 34.
Trustee Debbie Anthony.
Yes.
Trustee Tammy Cross.
Yes.
Trustee Brandon Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Janet Reed.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Danny Scher.
Yes.
Chairman Jim Thorpe.
Yes. Everybody would, just turn off your microphones.